I'm going to start first idea that I think is very important to deoccult. Shout out to the term deoccultation. That's Mark Passio's. You know me. I'm not trying to steal or trying to sound smarter than I am. Okay? Not trying to steal ideas and use it to get clout and fame. I don't think this video is going to be seen a lot based upon when I make these types of videos. They don't really get seen a lot. So, consent and karma, okay? Today's topic is consent and karma. Now, excuse all the background noise. I'm hearing a very long line. I'm driving down Bushwick Ave. Y'all know how I do with these videos. I make these videos while I'm trying to make money. I'm on my way back in traffic, and here's the video. Consent and karma, okay? These are two tools that are used by the quote-unquote dark occult to run the masses, okay? Now, consent and karma. Do the Dr. Umar say it 2 or 3 times so that y'all know. Consent and karma. How can evil rule indefinitely? And they can. That's what I hope to explain to you today. All right? Now, from you were a young kid, you've been taught that evil always prevails and triumphs over good, right? Like, there's always going to be retribution against evil, right? Evil always loses in the end, okay? So don't do evil. Now, you've learned this from cartoons, from movies, comic books, anything that has to do with a hero, good or versus bad, right? If you're religious, you've doubly been taught this. No offense to my religious folks out there, especially if you're a Christian, but in all walks of life, you have been given this information that if you do evil for long enough, there's always going to be a price to pay, and so you don't do it. All right. Now, this is one of the many, I'm not going to say it's a lie, many traps in the reality. Okay. For the sake of being good, especially if you're a Christian, you lose a lot of your power because you let a lot of things slide that people that don't have that training or belief system will not let slide. And so you're more prone. There's a weakness there. Okay, I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying there's a weakness there. All right. So, because of this teaching, you grow up to be an adult that will allow a lot of things in a reality, okay, so that you can be a good person, right? Arguing too much, fighting, going against the will of something can be considered evil. And so you suffer for that. All right. So I'm here to tell you today, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit of just universal laws and principles that tell you that good can last for a very long time, and so can evil. It's always a half-truth, okay? It's always a half-truth if one side is the only thing that you know. One side of the spectrum, one side of good, one side of evil. If you're polarized just to one side, okay, you're not going to get as much knowledge and understanding as you can. It's just simple like that. Quote unquote evil can also last for a long time. I'm here to posit to you that for the last 6,000 to 7,000 years, what you would consider evil has reigned, and has reigned without any type of pushback on the highest levels, because they understand magic, they understand the occult, and they understand universal laws and principles, while pushing it to you that you're insane for believing in universal laws and principles, what I'm about to tell you. And so here I am, just some guy that's about to put it straight back out on the internet so that you can understand this simple concept. Okay, so evil can last indefinitely. How do they do that? Here are 2 tools. There are many other things, but these are the 2 main tools: consent and the understanding of the mechanisms of karma. Okay? Consent and karma. Consent and karma. Okay? This is how they do it. All right, let's jump into it. Consent. So, consent is just permission, right? You can, if you are asking someone to do a task or to be involved in some kind of movement or, anything, you need to ask that person their permission. You have to ask them, do you want to participate in this? And if they say yes or no, or in our today's terms, we say if they agree to the terms of service, as long as they click that, there's no going back. They agreed to playing the game. They agreed to the rules of the game. If they click that, you can't say yes and then, you can, but then there's penalties, because there's always penalties if you change your mind after the initial question, okay? And so permission is a universal principle. It's a universal idea. You see, on a large scope, our reality, I'm talking about large mechanics, our reality is pretty fair. It has to be that way or else it'll implode. It's built in a way that everything is dependent on the other thing, and you need permission from conscious beings to participate. I don't know why, but forcing people to, I don't know why it is this way, okay? I'm not the ultimate, but you can't force freely made conscious beings to do things without getting their permission. It's just the way that it is. But there's a small other caveat to consent that you have to understand. And now what I'm about to tell you is the part that a lot of the masses miss, which is non-action and non-deciding can also be a form of consent. Let me say this again. Non-action, excluding yourself from a set action. What they would call apathy, being apathetic and taking, you have no conscience about it, you have no opinion, you don't take a stand on it. That is also consent, and let me explain to you how. Now, this is not necessarily a law and principle here in the world, in the matrix, but on a larger scale it is. And it's this. Let me give you an example. You're walking down the street, there's an alley to your left, you see an old lady getting attacked. You have some options, right? You can call the cops, you can scream out, you can go down there and take action on your own, right? You can go be a hero, break it up, try to save the day. You took some action. Those actions where you're trying to stop what you could consider, you can stop another thing from happening, right? Meant that you did not give permission. I do not consent to the act of beating up on old ladies in the alley, okay? That's what that means universally. Now, on the flip side, now I live in New York, so things like this actually do happen. If you're walking down the street, you see the lady getting assaulted in the alley, and you do nothing, okay? For whatever reason, you're afraid, you were taught to mind your business, you're right? You're from the hood, you learned weird things like no snitching, and this, that, and the third, right? If you don't take any action and you just go about your business on a larger, note that I'm saying on a larger scale, the universal mechanics, what that says is you're okay with that. By saying you're okay with that, that means that you consent to it. You agree that that's okay to happen. You might not really feel like that, right? You may like go home, or if that was to happen to your mother or your sister or insert anybody else that you cared about, you don't agree to it on this level, but universally, you're saying that I agree to that thing happening to anyone. Okay, because on higher levels we are more unified. We're all one. So if it could happen to that old lady, it could happen to my mom. Y'all get what I'm saying? So simply stated, not taking action is also consent. Okay? Now, I am aware that there are debates about this type of thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not my problem. I don't know, this, that, and the third. I'm not here to debate it on a humanistic level. I'm here to tell you that natural law states that that's how things work. All right. So keep that in mind. 2 forms of consent: giving your permission, and non-action also can be considered consent. All right. Now, the second tool is karma. Let's jump into it. Now, I talked about karma a little bit in my Where in Hell series. I might do a video just completely dedicated to karma and showing you how it doesn't state to be a benevolent or malevolent thing. It just is what it is. But I think it's one of the tools that's used to keep us here in the cycle of forgetting and this trash hellscape world soul trap that we live in. Okay, but I digress. So karma, right? Karma is simple. Okay, it's in all religions. It's do unto others as you would have them do unto others as you would do on. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Right? Basically saying, listen, the universal principle is basically steeped in freedom, right? It's a game of freedom versus entrapment. This whole thing is about to the extent that we can express freely our will and desires and ability to maintain structure while also being able to do whatever we want. That's how we define God. If you really get to the essence of it. And then the counter of that is how clamped can we be? The slavery, the boxing and clamping of freedom. Those are the 2 main games that we play. So universal principles state that as long as you are doing unto others as you would do unto them, then you're okay. And what that means is, this is the paradox. You're allowed to be as free as you want in a reality. Do all the things that you want to do as long as you're not impinging on the freedom of other conscious beings. And the reason why that's paradoxical, you could see, well, I don't know, I want to freely do everything that I want. And then maybe on a higher level, like as a spirit, I want to be free to whip my dick out. You know what I'm saying? On the astral plane. I just want to be free to stroll around that. And the universe is like, okay, that's fine. And then maybe you come across another group of people that for thousands of years are like, well, we frown upon whipping our dick out. And then you come around and you got your dick out, and then they're like, well, we don't like that. You can see where there are, I gave you a very crude example. There's going to be a lot of turmoil, kind of like how we have in the reality of people that agree that this one way of things is the way that I express myself freely, and another group is going to say, well, we don't like that. And so that's where conflict, it's not cut and dry. But generally speaking, whatever you're doing, don't let it box and clamp other people to the best of your ability, okay? That's the mark of a really well-organized, free, fun-loving civilization. Okay, so karma means as long as you're not fucking with other people's freedom, you should be okay. All right? If you do now, if you willfully clamp, box, put people into slavery, if you coerce people into doing things that they don't want to do, there's going to be universal negative repercussions, negative actions. You made a negative, forceful demand against the natural universal law of allowing people to express themselves, and now there's going to be something coming your way, and it's natural. It's not like there's some God and retribution. If you take people by force and you say that they have to do X, Y, and Z, it will come out in many different ways. Maybe the people will rise up against you. Rebellions will start. Little things inside of your institution will start to fall apart. We've seen this before time and time again, which is why the current system that we live in is so sophisticated, because it's made to feel for you like your freedoms are not being boxed and clamped. And so now that we have that basic understanding of consent and the karma, okay? You get negative karma by trying to box people's free will and ability to move around in the reality. Let's put everything together, okay? Now, as a dark occultist, as someone who understands universal principles, and they understand it, and then tell you that you're crazy for, you know what I'm saying, believing what I'm about to tell you. They're going to tell you that you're crazy, right? They practice the thing that is magical and then tell you that you're wild nuts for believing in the magical thing. How the dark rulers of this world can, in their very small numbers, right, how they can control you in your very large number is this. All you need to do, here's the problem that the dark occult has, and still has to figure out. Okay, now the dark occult, they're not world builders, okay? The human being creates worlds, okay? I'm not going to get into it in this video. The human being consciousness has an ability to take thoughts from the larger mind and make it physical into the reality. And so what that spells out is what we agree in large to be is, okay? Now, the minority, they're not creative beings, but they're hyper, and I mean on a divine level, hyper intelligent left brain beings. They know how to build things, how to structure things, a pyramidal structure, a top down. They know how to make things run. And so they use you to build this world, and then they structure it. Okay, so how do you get people to do that? Well, you can see where I'm going. You get people to give their consent to your idea of how things should be. So you consent to their vision of how things can be. And then how do you escape doing things that go against humans' free will? Well, how do you get someone to consent to something that's harmful for them? You use magic, you use sleight of hand tricks, you use legalese and contract law in order to get them to consent. And then how do you escape the karma? How do you escape the karma of letting people do things that are not helpful to their own state? Well, you escape karma because universal principles say as long as you agree to it, the universe is like, I'm hands off. If this is what they agree to, then you are, in essence, playing by the rules of the book. It's really that simple, okay? So again, tying everything all in one. The rulers of this world, okay, have been doing this for a very long time and will keep continuing to do this outside of some divine intervention. Will continue to do this because we keep giving our permission for it to go this way. And so they escape karma indefinitely. And because they understand what I just told you, using magic, high psychology, And your participation, by doing that, they can escape any kind of negative karma. Now, it depends on what level. It depends on what level you're on. It's either going to be a dampening, like there's some levels of the quote unquote dark occult that they understand that there's going to be some negative karma, and they know how to dampen it, and on the highest levels know how to escape it all together. And so what I'm telling you is, you have the ability to do this as well if you decide to become a magician. I'm never speaking from a religious standpoint, okay? I'm speaking from a universal principle. This is the closest thing to religion that I have. But to me, it's just a natural way that the universe is. Now, that's the first thing I want you to know. This reality is the way that we decided it to be because we all agreed to it. And I'm not talking down to you. I am part of it. There's certain things in the reality that's absolutely trash that I don't believe should be happening that way. And because I take zero action, there's karma. There's negative karma coming my way because I don't agree to it. Does that make sense? And so I'm here to tell you, the game is rigged at this point, because what's been happening is, if you guys ever heard of David Icke, and he talks about a totalitarian tiptoe, there's certain things in the reality right now that we've all agreed to that is so crazy, that's so, in plain words, just so bad, it's so trash on a human level, that maybe 40 years, 50 years, 60 years ago, we would have said, ain't no fucking way, right? But if you're using the idea that David Icke used, totalitarian tiptoe, is high magic is just high psychology. So I bring out something in the reality that we know that people are not gonna like. We know that they don't like it, but it fits our agenda. Initially, we're gonna say, oh, hell no. But again, these people understand psychology. They understand the simple art of repetition. You just keep repeating a thing, there's going to be one or two people eventually that will say, yes, I agree to it, even though it's something that the masses hate. You repeat that for another 100 years and keep positively reinforcing it like it's something good, even though everyone is like, no, that's crazy. There's no way that that's going to take off because that's stupid. And so using that and other psychological tricks, you can see 40, 50, 60 years down the line, one generation, two generations, the things that people used to balk at and say, ill, gross, becomes accepted. Emil, can you give us some examples? Yeah, sure. All right. Well, all right. Let's talk about plastic surgery, okay? I am old enough. Listen to this. I'm old enough, and I'm from Brooklyn, right? I'm old enough that back in the day, that was something that like weird rich people only did, right? Like Dolly Parton, she had the huge tits, and it was just her. And maybe a couple porn stars. Y'all remember them porn titties from like the 80s and the 90s? They were like wild hard. And that was anomalous, and we were like, wow, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that that's taken off. That seems ridiculous. Everybody in your neighborhood was like, that's wild. Like, no, that's crazy. And then you fast forward to today, where everyone, BBLs are commonplace. Breast augmentations, waist augmentations, lip fillers, this is the everyman. Chris Rock made that joke. Somebody made that joke. It's not Chris Rock. It's I think it was actually. that, you know, the average person that works at T-Mobile is getting BBLs and lip fillers. It's like, where are you going? Why are you getting those things? So this is not, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to anybody who wants to do whatever they want to do with their body in whatever way. But I'm making an observation that is an agenda. It's an agenda-driven movement. And the way that was done is to lightly, over time, having it being shown on TV, movies, social media, that like, this is the thing to do. This is the new thing to do. Now, I know I don't have to be talking to a super advanced conscious person to know that human beings at this level are easily swayed by anything. You could put somebody puts on the fucking big stupid red boots from Rocket or whatever the anime is, and you know, niggas in Brooklyn are lining up to go buy these big stupid looking red boots, and they are stupid, okay? Maybe not objectively, but they look retarded that you would want to line up to go buy these. And we have many examples of this. And so I'm not here to, this is not what the video is about, to beat up on y'all for doing stupid, weird shit. I'm here to tell you that it's very apparent that that's what consent does. Tiptoeing into it, okay? Doing unnatural things over large quantities of time, and then checking to see if us, human beings, the world builders, agree to it, either by saying, yeah, sure, that sounds like a good idea, or by being apathetic, taking no action, giving our consent through no action. Okay? You see, the people back in the day, older folk, whether it be the builders of America, like the Patriots, right? Now, I'm a black man, so I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like some type of slavery sympathizer or anything. I understand all the evils of slavery and all the stuff that white people did back in the day. But the Patriots that stood their ground against England and, you know, built America as it is today had that type of mentality that, like, no, I don't agree to the taxation and the things that you want me to do, okay? And I'm willing to stand on it. I'm willing to take some type of action. Okay, that means you don't consent. Know that there's always a choice. Sometimes the choice is hard. Sometimes the choice is death. We don't want to be morbid and always think about that. We don't want to always be kamikaze, but there are choices to make for the greater good. And as a species, human beings, we don't do anything for the greater good because we have been programmed to be individual pieces that frown upon any kind of cohesiveness. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here to take you off the hook, because the debate is always like, oh, are human beings this way naturally? You know what I'm saying? Or I'm here to tell you no, based upon all the things that I learned. Left alone to our own devices, yes, we would still have groups and it would still be skirmishes and whatever, but we are familial beings that prefer to work together for the greater good, for the building of things. So I'm here to tell you, left alone without being influenced and touched and addled by higher consciousnesses, more powerful consciousnesses, and non-benevolent. And remember, I define non-benevolent, aka evil, as consciousnesses that are not worried about the greater good of human conscious expansion. That's how I define it. Okay? Good and evil is subjective, but this is how I'm defining it. Why? Well, let's take our domestic animals that they're not domestic. Let's take the animals that we have. To a dog that lives, you know, with good dog parents, this place can be considered a heaven. it's subjective because this is the reality that it lives in, right? Now, I'm a vegetarian, so I'm not giving a vegan rant. I'm just giving an objective rant. This could be a heaven. To a cow, this is an absolute hell. Now, why is it heaven to a dog? Well, because you treat him good, you talk to him, you're giving him all the positive energy, good nutrition, you're giving him love, and so his consciousness, his or hers, consciousness is expanding. He's becoming more of himself. So it's more conducive for the expansion of him as a dog. His dog consciousness is expanding and he's going to evolve. That's how I express what's good and evil. It's all perspective. Now, the dog could be stamping on an anthill outside every day. He sees it, right? So to the ant, it's a hellscape. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why good and evil is like, it can change. Now, to a cow, this place is an absolute hell. If you're coming down here as a spirit of cattle, right? There has to be some really negative karma that has happened to you, or you're just trying to learn some type of really tough life lesson. You're coming down here as a cow, and a cow consciousness and a cow experience. This is hell. This whole matrix, this whole system is a hell. It's very simple to see once you can just put yourself in different states of consciousness. A cow that's in a kill, whatever you call them, right? I don't know what you call them. A butcher place. I don't know what you call those large places where cows, a farm, right? On a cow farm, waiting in line to get its head knocked in or its throat slit, watching other cows in front of it in a line getting its head knocked in and a throat slit. That's actual hell. That's the stuff of terrors. If you can replace cow with humans in that, you can see how easily that you would be like, God is left here, right? Like, put yourself with everything that you know now in that scenario, and you can see how easily we can be convinced that this place is a heaven or hell. So from a human's perspective, I'm trying to tell you that it's an absolute trash bucket, this place. And so anyway, the people above us look at you like the cows, okay? Talking about the high elite, some of them human forms, some of them non-human, and then some of them states of consciousness. Let's put it. I don't want to get into weird terminology that will have you already leave the video, because this has already been till 10 for a Hattie. Let's just say non-human entities that don't look at you with respect. You are the way that, like, I could show you a video of a cow and show you how nice and friendly the baby cow is, and I've done this, and then people still crack jokes like, oh yeah, he looks delicious. This is how they look at you. As long as you're okay with that, then fine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. And so the rulers of this place, you're on a different level, okay? They need your consent to build this world. And the way that they escape this place is by negating negative karma. And so as long as you understand that, you can go forward. Now, what does this mean for you? It means that you can, number one, do the same thing that they do. It also means that in order to turn the tides, if we wanted to do that, and I'm not here to turn tides, I'm just here to place this in front of you, it would mean that we would, in a large mass, which is highly unlikely at this point, need to agree across the board that the way things are is not the way that we want them. On many levels, socio-economic. And we probably won't do that. But on an individualistic note, because that's where we are as individuals, it means that things like let's bring it down to earth. Things like marketing. You can understand where universal principles come to that. Like a marketer spends his time or her time changing your mind for you to buy a product or a service. And a really good marketer is like a high occultist, where they're really good at the art of persuasion. And that's what this reality is about. The minority using high magic, right? High logic, high mathematics, high science, in order to persuade you to take part in building the world that they want, the quote unquote new world. All these weird agendas that are what? Not conducive to the expansion of human consciousness, like transhumanism agenda, the gender confusion agenda. I could go down the list, okay? I'm not here to list them out, but if we continue to go down the path that they want, you know what I'm saying? Machines replacing people, brain interfaces, being able to download consciousnesses like I forgot that Netflix show where you can live forever, but like in an artificial sense. Like, this is not conducive to your soul and the human condition, making it evil. And if you continue to do that, you continue to consent through non-action or agreeing. Because here's what they're getting better at time and time again. They're getting better at having you agree to the weirder things. To the delight of the... Sorry, let me just put this on the rest of my hand. To the delight of the quote-unquote devil, he rubs his hands and laughs. Because, I hate to say it, I can place myself in different states. I would be laughing too. There's certain things in the reality that I see people agree to, and I'm like, I can't believe that you're agreeing to it. That's actually funny. To the delight of the devil, he giggles and laughs when you agree to something that's so outlandish. Especially when he's like, wow, I remember that 100 years ago, you would have said, that's crazy. I'll never agree to that. Look, I made you agree to that. I could give some more examples here, but I'm very careful because I don't want to offend nobody. But our society today is so trash and watered down. And I see so many things that we agree to that's okay. We've given our consent, and they're not getting any repercussion. They continue to get stronger and stronger. The magic building upon itself with no counterforce. That's the thing too. There's no counterforce. There's little people like me that kind of peep the game. But even me telling you this, it's not going to galvanize not even like 100 people. It's not even going to galvanize like 10 people to like say, hey, we need to do something to counterbalance this. And so this is the game, y'all. Thanks for listening. Evil can last for a very long time. Right? It just can. It's not like how it is in the movies. I think that's the main thing I want to get across to you, to wake you up and show you that like the reality that they're telling you exists is their version, and you've bought into it. It's literally like the movie The Matrix. It's not true, okay? It's a partial truth. Universal principles say that these are the rules. You can use the rules regularly, or if you are a really good, like a trickster spirit, as long as you don't break the rules, you can't change the rules, but you can bend and manipulate it. If you study alchemy, that's what alchemy is. These are the gases, the minerals, and the metals. You can change them by mixing certain things together, but you can't destroy or break any one of those fundamental minerals or gases. You can't, like, you can change the nature of it. And so that's what this reality is, the bending of the rules, and we allow it. And so thanks for listening. Evil can reign for a very long time. It is right now. I just wanted to give you that jewel. The two jewels that are used, the two tools that are used in this reality is the understanding of the concept of consent and permission and escaping karma. Because let me tell you something, the things that the dark occult is doing right now, when we're talking about all types of stuff with the children, all types of stuff with the trafficking of people for and those are just the things that we talk about as hot button topics. Things going on in Africa, the mining, the interference in governmental stuff to have sides warring with each other, $1 billion a month spending on wars to get people up out of here. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad is an understatement. If it's that bad, and what y'all say, there's always going to be some retribution should be coming in spades. If what y'all believe as Christians or holy people, America should be up out of here 100 times or 100 times more, but it's not. It's here, and it's going to be here because they are high occultists and high magicians. They understand the nature of how things work. So that's my first gem. It's your boy M's in the Grid. The last thing I want to say, I'm not doing this for views. Obviously, I don't think there's anybody that's gonna watch it to the end. But I'm putting out this and a couple other ideas out on YouTube just so that it's here, just so the universe literally following my advice for this video, which is I didn't just sit back. At least I let it know, pay attention to these things. If you can have the understanding of these things en masse, we could change the world. We could, if we understood that we are the world builders. And if we tomorrow said, I don't agree to X, Y, and Z, you would see how quickly things change. I didn't say it changed for the better. Who knows? Maybe this whole shit would implode. I would say I am not a utopianist or whatever. I don't think oh my God, this thing has a potential to just be this thing by the world, this magical place where it's all kumbaya. I know that if we were to get into the right mind space that I'm talking about now, there will probably be some force coming our way. It's not going to be we wake up and it's let's hand it back over to them and everything is all right. There would be some turmoil for some time, to put it lightly. But I believe that's the right way to be. It's better that we're informed and understand. Maybe it will work out, kumbaya-ishly. But I plan to release some of these videos, views, no views, so that we can understand some basic workings. I think the next one I want to talk about is understanding the paradoxical nature of our reality, because that's a big thing that I see, that people have childish minds. We have kid-like minds because we don't understand. This place is a paradox, and the paradox is not necessarily good, it's not necessarily bad, but right now in our mostly negative cycle of consciousness, the way that the world is, go watch my We're in Hell video where I think that this is a mostly negatively charged experience right now. It is a form of hell right now. The way that it is right now, a paradox is a bad thing. And so, peace, y'all. It's your boy M's in the Grid. If you watch it to the end, know that you my people. Stay tuned. Other vids coming. Hope you're in good health, good spirits. Later.